question for tonight is, everyone, can we eliminate Chazaras HaShatz? Why would you want to eliminate Chazaras HaShatz? Get to work earlier.
Well, people understand the tefillah better today than they did in those days.
People are more bikiim. We're more well-versed in the tefillah. Everyone has a sitter or a smartphone or a tablet where they can daven. We don't really need the shliach tzibur to be motzi us anymore. So the argument has been made, it's been made for centuries, that we should be able to eliminate Chazaras HaShatz when we're dealing with a more educated audience who has more access to doing their own Shemona Esrei. That this is an old argument, and I want to trace it for you so that we understand what the basis for it is and whether or not there's any latitude. Maury?
Same with making Kiddush Friday night. In case someone comes in, perhaps, that doesn't understand the tefillah, we're covered for that individual.
You mean why we make Kiddush in shul Friday night? Well, the reason that's brought in Shulchan Aruch is that there used to be a minhag in certain communities that the shul would offer food for the poor, and so this was the Kiddush. No one can be Yotzei Kiddush in shul Friday night the way that we do it now, because you have to have Kiddush b'makom Suda, and there's no Suda being offered. So we just do it as a vestige. It became part of the liturgical schema of the Friday night davening.
So the argument is bracha levatala?
The argument is not bracha levatala, although one might make that argument. But the argument is it's totally redundant. Who needs it? We don't need it anymore. It's a bracha shein tzricha, perhaps, which turns out to be a bracha levatala. All right. There's a long tshuva from the Rambam, which we're not going to see tonight because Rabbi Ovadia is going to quote most of it. But I just wanted to see his words inside the last part of the tshuva. The question that was asked of the Rambam is not the same question. He was asked a question that in certain communities, the practice was becoming that when they hired a chazan, they hired the chazan to say not only one Shemona Esrei out loud with Kedusha, but they wanted him to say the Shtila Shemona Esrei out loud as well. So that while everyone was davening the silent Shemona Esrei, he would be saying his Shemona Esrei out loud. And this way, people who were really ignorant would feel that they had something to do, while everyone else was saying silent Shemona Esrei. And this was creating problems for the people who were the Bikiyim, who were davening their silent Shemona Esrei, because his voice was a distraction from their own words, and it was creating problems. So the Rambam was asked his opinion what should be done, and he said, really, you should only have the silent Shemona Esrei with the chazan being silent, and the loud Chazaras HaShatz. And then, halfway through the tshuva, I should have underlined where we're going to start, but he goes, it's umash, it's the, you see, it's the second paragraph on page 1, and it's halfway down the paragraph. The third word on the line is umash shamatem. What you've heard, me'echad mechachmei eretz Edom, shekach ra'ui behechrech. He says, you may have heard something from one of the wise men of Edom, of Italy, okay, who said that Rod Salomar sheyit palel shliach hatzibor pam echad b'kol ram ukedusha v'shelo yihiyeh sham lachash klal. He argued that there should only be a Chazaras HaShatz and there should be no silent Shemona Esrei at all. Now, we don't know exactly his reasons. The Rambam doesn't bring his reasoning, but the Rambam says, I sort of agree with this guy. Harei omer ani bazeh hilchata kavate v'lav mitaime. I agree with him, but not for the reasons that he provided. Mipnei shiraiti devarav biyad Rabbeinu Nisim v'Rabbeinu Shemaria shliach tzibor ve'im kulam dvarim. He says, I've seen him quoted by these two sages, but they're idle words. Sheyesh bahem shkiyot rabot v'choser iyun. He says, because there's erroneous logic in the argument that he put forward. Ki ilu husover sha'aser shetiya sham tefila b'lachash klal. He implies that you're not allowed to have a silent Shemona Esrei, which is totally wrong, because we know that Shemona Esrei is supposed to be silent. That's what the Gemara says. We learned that from Chana, Gemara and Brachas. right? Vehevi rayot chalashot umishubashot ma'od. And he brought some very weak and confusing proofs. So I totally don't agree with his rationale, but I agree with his bottom line, that in certain communities, it would be more appropriate to totally eliminate the silent Shmona Esrei and only have the Chazan say the loud Shmona Esrei. And he says as follows, Aval ani omer shekach ratzoi bizmanenu biglal siva she'avara'ena. He says, let me tell you why it's appropriate for our communities today. V'hi shekasher mitpalel shliach hatzibur b'kol ram, poneh kol mi shehitpalel v'yatsa yedei chovato, o ledibur, o lesicha b'teila, v'hofech panav min ha'echal v'yorek u'meisir kicho. He says, let me tell you the problem. Anyone who is well-versed in Hebrew and has been able to daven his silent Shmona Esrei, when the Shliach Tzibur gets to Chazaras HaShatz, you know what happens, says the Rambam? These people feel that it's just a waste of time. And so they start schmoozing. They turn their face away from the Aron. They start spitting or clearing their throat, and they do all of these kinds of really inappropriate things that go on during Chazaras HaShatz. And he says, as a result of that, it's no good. The kasher roazos misha eno baki, and then the ignoramuses see what the educated ones are doing, that they're totally disregarding Chazaras HaShatz, right? Because they feel, because I already daven my silent Shmona Esrei. So the Amoritz that's next to me, who doesn't know how to daven his silent Shmona Esrei, he sees what I'm doing, and then what happens? Osuhu gamkein, kach below safek v'choshev shezeh she'omer oso shliach tzibor, ein somchen alav v'yotzei hachutza kol mishu hu eino baki, af ki lo yatsa yedei chovato. He says, he figures, well, the reason why the guy next to me is not listening is because this guy's not an appropriate shliach tzibor. We shouldn't rely on his Shmona Esrei. And then they end up leaving the shul also. V'titbatel hakavana, asher biglala yarad shliach hatzibor lifnei hateva she'lo hotziat she'eno baki. And then it turns out, the guy who wasn't Yotzei his Shmona Esrei at all, he's going to be draining a cup, like with the guy schmoozing with the guy next to him or walking out. And he's not going to be Yotzei Shmona Esrei at all. And the whole purpose of the Chazaras HaShatz, which is to be motzi someone who's not educated, is totally out the window. V'im ha'anashim lo yitpalalu lachash klal, ela yitpalalu hakol achar shliach hatzibur tefila echat b'kedusha, kol baki yitpalel imo belachash, v'chol she'eno baki yishma, v'yichru hakol imo. He says, and that's why I would recommend there not be any silent Shmona Esrei at all. Let everyone, that there only be a Chazaras HaShatz. Let the Shliach Tzibur say everything out loud, including Kedusha. Anyone who's educated can say the words silently together with him. And let the people who are not educated just listen, and they'll be Yotzei. V'yichru hakol imo, everyone will bow down at the same time with modim, etc. Kishe penei ha'am el ha'echal b'kavana. Everyone will be facing the Aron. Everyone will be having kavana. Harei bazek far yetzu kulam yedei chovatan. Everyone will be yotzei their chiyuv. V'yihiyeh hadavar misudar u'mitukan v'timana arichot hachazara. He says, in this way, everything will be decorous. Everything will be organized. We won't be wasting time in shul. And v'yusar chilul Hashem shenispashid ben hagoyim. And then the chilul Hashem will also be removed. Because when the Goyim see what we're doing during Chazaras HaShatz, and I'm going to be honest with you, the reason why I don't like non-Jewish politicians to come visit us on Shabbos morning, and I know that they do sometimes, Peter Kent comes and other politicians come, they're wonderful people. They're Ohavei Yisrael, they're really righteous Gentiles. But you know why I don't like them to come? Because it's a Chilul Hashem, what goes on in the shul. This guy says, come Peter, let me take you to Kiddush Club. Another guy says, come, let's schmooze in the back of the shul during Chazaras HaShatz. It's truly an embarrassment. We should be embarrassed to allow someone who's not Jewish to come into our shul and to see what goes on. Because it's not the decorum that a Gentile would be used to if he walked into a church. Okay? And so it's, he says, so the Rambam is saying like this, things haven't changed a lot in 800 years, okay? So what basically he's saying is that if we eliminated one of the Shmona Esreis, and we only had Chazaras HaShatz and had no Shtila Shmona Esrei, then people would be spending their time attentively during the Chazaras HaShatz, davening silently to themselves, and the Chilul Hashem is gone, because now people look like they're praying instead of schmoozing. Because otherwise Goyim come into the shul. They see Jews spitting and collecting their phlegm and coughing and schmoozing during their prayers. He says, they see what we're doing, and therefore I feel the best solution during our time, says the Rambam, is to do what I've just suggested. Min hasibos asher he's karnun, the kosav Moshe. Such is the word of Moshe, such is the writ of Moshe ben Maimon. This is the tshuva of the Rambam. Okay? These words burn into you when you read them.
Rabbi Eli, you interpret the words Eli, it's Palo Kol. It sounds like you say he says it with the Shilach Tzibur,
Yeah.
as opposed to davening the Shemona Esrei himself.
That's right. No. Everyone's davening at the same time together during Chazaras HaShatz. That's what he's advocating.
How do you see that in the way his language? It seems to me he was talking about Acher. When he says the Acher, he talks about maybe they say a silent Shemona Esrei after the.
Well, I mean, if you look at, he says, Umasha Shamati, Me'echad Mechachmi Eretz Edom, Shehispalo Shliach HaTzibor Pam Echas B'Kol Ram U'Kedusha V'Shelo Yesham Lachash Klal. Okay, no one should have a Shtila Shmona Esrei at all. And he says, and then later on he says, V'hi Shekasher Mitpalel Shliach HaTzibor B'Kol Ram, where he says, okay, so 1 second. Everyone's doing one tefillah together with kedusha. Achar, like word for word. He says atah, I say atah. He says kadosh, I say kadosh. Right? So kol baki yispalul imo belachash. Everyone who's a baki is davening with him silently while he's saying the words out loud. Right? That's why I'm understanding what he's advocating, okay?
Just parenthetically, when he makes reference to Chachmei Eretz Edom, where's he talking? Is that Italy?
It usually refers to Italy. Yeah, Edom is Italy, or Rome. Yeah. You should know that in the Rambam's time, there was a very significant Jewish community in Italy. It migrated, right, into Germany and Spain and so forth, but, yeah. Okay. So that's all we need to see from the Tshuvas HaRambam, but I wanted to look at the Rambam's language inside. Let's take a look at what Rabbi Ovadia says. We'll try and skip some of the less pertinent stuff, but I want to get to the Tamtzit. She'ilah. So Rabbi Ovadia had the actual real Shaila in the 20th century, and the Shaila was as follows. Biktzat kihilot min ha'olim mitzvon Africa le'eretz Yisrael. There are some immigrants who have come from northern Africa, probably Morocco, Algiers, Tangiers, made aliyah. Nohagim ata b'tfilas musaf shel Shabbos, shehashliach tzibor omer hatfila b'kol ram yachadim hatzibor. Their minhag is as follows. The shliach tzibor says the loud Shmona Esrei together with the tzibor's silent Shmona Esrei. He says the first three brachas together with them. Im kedushas keser, then he does kedusha. And ve'achar kach mesayim tefillah b'lachash lelo chazaras hashliach tzibor. Ha'im minhag zeh nachon al pi ha'halacha. Like a hecher kedusha, right?
Moroccan approach.
But they do a hecher kedusha not just for mincha, they do a hecher kedusha for musaf.
You do that in Hong Kong, sure.
Is that right?
It's Moroccans do it.
The Syrian community.
Okay, so Rabbi Ovadia was asked the question, is this an acceptable minhag Yisrael that can be brought and imported into Eretz Yisrael? That's what he was asked. And as we're going to see, his feeling is it's not the proper minhag. So let's take a look. Tshuva Chazaras HaShliach Tzibur B'Tfilot Shacharit Musaf U'Mincha Hi Takanat Chazal HaKavua L'Doros. He says this institution of Chazaras HaShatz was made for all future generations. Kidei lahotzi yedei chova mi she'eino baki lihitpalel. It was done to be motzi, a person who doesn't have the education to know how to daven Shmona Esrei himself. Kemavur b'Rosh Hashanah, Gemara in Rosh Hashanah daf lamed daled. V'zeh lashon harambam. The Rambam writes in the Yad, Shliach tzibur motzi es harabim yedei chovas hatfila. The Shliach Tzibur is motzi, the public. Keitzad, b'shasha Shliach Tzibur mispalel b'kol ram v'hem shonim v'omim amein achar kol bracha u'bracha hareihem kimispalelim. He says, and the Rambam writes, very simply, when people answer amein to each one of the Shliach Tzibur's blessings, it's as if they're saying the blessings themselves because of the principle of Shomei HaKa'on. B'med dvar mamurim b'she'enim yodem li'itpalel. He says, but that's only true if a person doesn't know how to daven. But if a person knows how to daven, he cannot rely on the Chazaras HaShatz, because ultimately, as is brought down, we're going to skip the parentheses, is that's brought down from the Yerushalmi, is that every person needs to ask for rachamim on a personal basis. It's not enough for me to listen to someone else's bakashat rachamim. Asking for divine mercy is a very personal petition, and so you're not really supposed to rely on someone else's intercession on your behalf. It's only if you have no other choice, because you're not educated. Skip the parentheses. Umikol makom b'tfilat arvit lo tiknu chazal chazara ki halacha biyadenu shetfilat arvit reshut. He says, so why don't we have a chazaras hashatz for Ma'ariv? This is because originally Ma'ariv was not a mandatory prayer. The only mandatory prayer in the times of Chazal was Shacharis and Mincha. Ma'ariv was really an optional prayer. So Ela shenagu kol Yisrael b'chol mekomos moshvotzehem lihitpalel arvit v'kibalua aleim kitfilat chova. Later on, the Jewish communities, in every Jewish community, accepted Ma'ariv as an obligatory prayer, but it was originally not meant as such. Aval misha eno baki ein lo tzarech bechazarat hashliach tzibur lo tziyu yedei chova kevan shelo kibla lav me'olam b'tor chova. He says, but it was only accepted as an obligatory prayer by educated Jews. Jews who were not educated never accepted it as an obligatory prayer, so therefore that obviates the need for a chazaras hashatz for them. Okay, v'chein katav harambam ve'ein hashliach tzibur chozer li'itpalel arvit b'kol ram lefi she'ein tfilat arvit chova. Lefichach lo yivarech brachot levatala she'en kan adam shenitchayev ba kedei lahotziyo yedei chovato. The Rambam writes this explicitly. There's no chazaras hashatz for Ma'ariv because it was never instituted as an obligatory prayer, because at the end of the day, the only people who treat it as obligatory are educated Jews. They don't need chazaras hashatz. And the ones who are not educated did not accept it as obligatory, and therefore they don't need anyone. There's no one who needs to be yotzei with chazaras hashatz. Okay, we're going to skip the rest of the paragraph, and we're going to go to the next paragraph. V'hinei harambam b'shut pe'er hador nish'al. The Rambam was asked in a tshuva as follows: Ha'im tzarech hashliach tzibur lachazor hatefila gam kishekol hatzibur biki'im batfila. This is a different tshuva, not one that we saw inside. The question that the Rambam was asked was, is it necessary, if the entire congregation is educated, is it necessary to have a chazaras hashatz? Very basic question, right? V'heishiv sha'af b'makom shekol yichidei ha'kahal b'ki'im lihitpalel tzarich hashliach tzibur lachzor hatfila. He says, yes, you still need a chazaras hashatz, even if the entire tzibur is educated. Why? Ki lo natnu chachamim divreihem lashiurim, she'yeh tzarich livdok v'lirot b'chol pa'am mi yodea lihitpalel u'mi einu yodea, ela takanatam kivu'a le'olam. He says, because, can you imagine this kind of variable, right? You'd have to check before every davening, is everyone here a bucky? Like, who here is not a bucky? Raise your hand. Can you imagine, first of all, the human aspect of it? Oh, that shmendrik in the back, because of him we got to spend an extra 5 minutes with chazaras hashatz? Because of that one shmendrik who needs to hear Shemona Esrei? He can't daven on his own. What's the matter with you? You never got into Jewish education? Where were you raised? In a barn, right? In other words, can you imagine the insults that would be hurled at someone for making the rest of us wait the extra 5 minutes for Chazaras HaShatz?
Or that old Jewish joke, by you he's a bucky, by me he's no bucky.
Right. Who said that you're a bucky? You're an Amoritz. You don't know how to daven, right? Fights, pandemonium. The shuls would empty out, right? Uchemo shetiknu chazal shehashliach tzibur mitpalel b'leil Shabbat bracha me'ein sheva mipnei hamitacharim lavo lebeit hakneset kidei shelo yavo lidei sakani. He says, by analogy, let me give you an analogy. We have a custom that on Friday nights, even though there's no Chazaras HaShatz, because there's no need for Chazaras HaShatz in Ma'ariv, like we just got through saying, right? So why do we do this procedure on Friday nights after Ma'ariv called the Bracha Me'ein Sheva, where we all say Vayechulu, and then the Chazan says, Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov, Ha'kel HaGadol, HaGibor V'Hanora, Kel Elyon, Konei Shamayim V'Aretz, Magen Havos, B'Dvaro. Why do we do all of that? There's no Chazaras HaShatz. Chazal instituted it specifically Friday nights because the minhag was to go out into the field, and in case there were people who took a little bit longer for their Shmona Esrei, they wanted to have a little bit of back material at the end of davening to give everyone a chance to finish Shmona Esrei out in the field, because it was considered dangerous to have to walk back on your own after everyone else has left. You're going to be left in the forest by yourself, and it's not safe.
That's why they implemented Baruch Hashem Le'olam, so why don't they do that Friday night?
That's an interesting question. I don't know. I'm not sure the reason. Okay. He says, but Rabbi Ovadia says, V'hadavar noheg la'olam gam kishein siba zu kayemet. Shekol takana shetiknu chazal mipnei ezo siba, hatakana noheged la'olam gam bihitbatel hasiba asher biglala nitkana, ad kan tochen devara. So he's still quoting the Rambam. He says, the Rambam says, so what? A group of guys go out into the forest and daven Shmona Esrei, and everyone finishes at the same time. Does that mean that we can dispense with Bracha Me'ein Sheva? We don't have to say Magen Avos anymore because we don't need to wait for anyone because there's no Shmendrik who's taking a long time? No. He says once they instituted the takana stands regardless of whether there's anyone who needs it or not. And the same thing, says the Rambam, when it comes to Chazaras HaShatz, even if no one needs it in our shul, we still have to have Chazaras HaShatz no matter what. Skip to the next paragraph. Uvimei chorfi hosafti tam l'tfilat hachazara bizman hazeh. When I was younger, says Rabbi Ovadia, I offered an additional reason. Why? Not only because of the low plug that rabbis don't distinguish between whether there's a need or not in these particular instances, but there's another reason why you always have to have a Chazaras HaShatz. Al pi ma shepasak Marana Shulchan Aruch, the Shulchan Aruch itself writes in Siman Kuf Aleph that Hamit Palel tzarich sheyechavein b'chol habrachot, v'im eno yachol lechavein b'kulam lefachot yechavein ba'avot, v'im lo kivein ba'avot afilu kivein b'chol shar habrachot yachzor v'yitpalel. Now the Beit Yosef paskins in Shulchan Aruch that you have to have kavana in every one of the 19 blessings of Shemona Esrei. If you can't have kavana in all of them, you at least have to have kavana in the first three. In the first one, the bracha of Avos. And if you didn't have kavana in the bracha of Avos, of Magen Avraham, so you're not Yotzei Shemona Esrei, and you got to go all over again. Now, do we paskin that way? No. The kasav al zeh harama, uizman hazeh ein chozun b'shvil chisaron kavana b'tfila, she'af b'chazara karav hu shelo yechavein v'imkein lama yachzor. Quoting the Tur, the Ramah says, but we don't do that today. Even if you had no kavana at all, even if you didn't have kavana in the first bracha, you still don't go back to the beginning because maybe the second time around you also won't have kavana, and there's a good chance you won't have kavana even if you do it 10 times. So just be somech on the fact that you said the words, even though it's not really a good tefillah, but at least b'di'evid your yotzei. Now, the kasav Moran hachida bebirkei Yosef sham, sha'af shemoran hashulchan aruch hishmit divrei hatur, umashma shesover shegam ata ro'i liot chozer v'yitametz lechavein da'ato, aval ein amina kedivrei maran. The Chida writes, we don't paskin like the Beit Yosef here. We paskin like the Ramah. If you missed the boat, if you blew it, and you didn't have kavan in the first bracha, don't go back and do it again. The Gam Hagon Mari Kastro Bahagotav, the Sefer Erech Lechem, Pasak Divrei HaTorah Ad Kan, and that seems to be the universal minhag even among Sephardim. V'lachein biyot v'rov hamitpalalim bizmanenu einam mechavnim af ba'avot, yesh lahem lechavein letfilat chazarat hashliach tzibur, shebederech klal hu min hamuvcharim shebakahal. Listen to this. So he says, here's another reason why Chazaras HaShatz is important. Chances are you didn't have proper kavana in your first bracha of Shemona Esrei. Chances are. So the benefit of Chazaras HaShatz is listen to the Shliach Tzibor have kavana, because most of the times the Shliach Tzibor is one of the real serious guys in the Kahal who will have kavana. That's a big assumption. But Rabbi Ovadia is saying that the benefit is you get a second chance when you have Chazaras HaShatz. You blew it the first time, at least you get a second chance. Umistama huzari zubaki lechavein b'tfilato. And we can therefore assume that he'll do a better job than we could have done with our silent Shemona Esrei as far as his kavana u'lepachad ba'avot, and at least the bracha of avos, the first bracha of Shemona Esrei. By the way, this places a big onus on the Shliach Tzibor. I'm not a huge fan of guys who aren't Bikiyim, who are not Talmidei Chacham, who get up to do the davening. And we had a whole shir. We already know that there's a huge benefit to the neshama of the niftar for a person to daven during the year of Avelis. But you got to take your job seriously, is really Rabbi Ovadia is saying. Consider that there's a huge percentage, I don't know what the numbers are, but there's a huge percentage of people who daven their Shtil Shemona Esrei without having proper kavana, even during the first bracha. And therefore, the onus is on you as the Shliach Tzibur to have kavana, to be motzi all those people that didn't have proper kavana. Okay. Vayidekach motzi es harabim yidei chovasim, therefore you could be motzi the kahal. He says, and in the parentheses, he just adds, he says, V'tam ze nichlal b'takanat chazal lahotzi mishenu baki, hainu shenu baki lechavein b'tfilato. And therefore, this is actually a fulfillment of the original takana. Why did Chazal institute Chazaras HaShatz? To be motzi someone who's not a baki. But there's another definition of someone who's not a baki. You and I are not bikiyim. We're not bikiyim to do what? To have kavana. So therefore, don't be such a knacker and think that you don't need Chazaras HaShatz. You do need Chazaras HaShatz, because chances are you didn't have kavana for the first bracha of Shemona Esrei. That's why it is important to listen to the Shliach Tzibor. V'chein mitbar b'divrei harambam ayin sham v'shuv ra'iti sheyesh smuchim lazeh mitshuvat harama mipano. We've quoted for the Rama mipano and other shiurim. Shekasav she'omnam anu machzikim atzmeinu kebikim litpalel shelo yiyah shliach tzibor motzi otanu. He says that Rama mipano writes something, I think he's 17th century. He writes, or 16th century, I don't remember. He says, we consider ourselves bikiyim. I don't need Chazaras HaShatz. What do I need him for? I can daven on my own. Achroi shenesapek atzmeinu kivilti bikiyim shimlo kivanenu kiroi nechavein latzeit bechazarat hashliach tzibur ayin sham. This is exactly what I wrote. He says, we should assume that we're not bikiyim, because in case we didn't have proper kavanah, we really do need a Chazaras HaShatz. Okay, skip to the next paragraph. Then he writes another reason why Chazaras HaShatz is important, even for those of us who are bikiyim today. Ve'al pi ha'Kabbalah yesh tzarech gadol bechazaras hashatz, shema'alata gedola yoter mitfilat lachash shechamavur b'shar ha'kavanos. Period. He says in one of the Sfarim of the Arizal, he writes that al pi Kabbalah, the Chazaras HaShatz is even more important than the Shtil Shemona Esrei. V'chein katav b'sefer Ben Ish Chai ayin sham. Al kol panim chalila levatel chazarat hatfila bein b'shacharit uvemusaf uvein b'mincha uchenal. He says, therefore, you should never be mevatel Chazaras HaShatz, whether it's shacharis, whether it's musaf, or even whether it's mincha. Never dispense with Chazaras HaShatz.
Or the polo do that every day.
Hold on.
You could be talking about.
Okay. There are a lot of minyanim, yeshivas.
Yeah.
In my yeshiva, In all yeshivas, they don't do Chazaras HaShatz at Mincha, specifically at Mincha. It's unheard of, by the way, to ever do this in Shacharis, right? It's unheard of to do this for Musaf. Mincha, we can be masig. Why? We'll learn. I'm gonna show you a reason shortly. Va'ayin od b'chazani shorachayim ayin sham. Next paragraph. Omnam hine harambam b'tshuva katav. And now he quotes the Tshuvas Rambam that we quoted at the beginning of the shir. Ki bizmanenu ro'i levatel chazarat hashliach tzibur b'tfila. He says the reason why we have to do away with Chazaras HaShatz, even though that's not exactly what the Rambam wrote there should only be one Shmona Esrei that all of us say together, right? So he says that basically he's sort of reorienting us. The Rambam is essentially saying one Shmona Esrei, no second Shmona Esrei, right? He says, Lefi sha'anu roim shekasher chozer hashliach tzibur atfila rov hahamon sheyispalalu b'lachash einam matim ozen kashevet litfilat hashliach tzibur. He says, because we see that during Chazaras HaShatz, and the Rambam writes this, people are not paying attention, and it's a big bizayon. It's a chilul Hashem. Zeh hofech panav l'saperim chavero sicha b'teila, v'zeh hofech panav me'hamizrach lahasir kicho v'ne'o v'chayotze bazeh. This guy turns his face to schmooze with his friend, something totally meaningless and gratuitous. This guy turns his face from the east, from the Mizrach Vant, to be able to draw up his phlegm, and all things like that. And when the guy who's not educated sees the knockers doing this, he's going to feel, okay, that's what we're supposed to do. So it turns out that no one's going to be paying attention to the Chazaras HaShatz. The Bikiyim are not paying attention. The Eino Baki learns from the Bikiyim the wrong behavior, and no one's listening. Aval kishelo yitpalalu hakahal belachash klal, ela yitpalalu hakol achar hashliach tzibur tefila echat im kedusha, habaki yitpalel im hashliach tzibur belachash, umi she'eino baki yishma v'yichrem hashliach tzibur, upnei kol ha'amel ha'ichal b'kavana, yitz'u kulam yedei chovatam, v'yusar yedei kachil al Hashem, shenitpashet ben agoyim, barmam sha'yehudim, rokikim u'mesaprim zeim ze b'tfilatam, sharei ro'im heim davar ze tamid, v'zeh hayoter nachon etzli be'elu hazmanim mehatam shekatavti ad kan tochen devarav. Quoting the tshuva of the Rambam that we saw. Best thing to do, one Shmona Esrei, Shliach Tzibur's out loud, we're all quiet while he's davening, and everyone will have decorum, it'll be beautiful, and that's the way it should go. That was the minhag of the Rambam, and he actually instituted that minhag during his lifetime in certain communities where he was asked this question. V'chein katav Rabbeinu Avraham ben HaRambam. And not only that, but we see from the Rambam's son, Rabbi Avraham, that this was actually implemented. B'tshuva shehuva b'tchilat sefer ma'aseh rokeach, v'shetakanat HaRambam hanal hunhaga b'mitzrayim b'meshech kol yemei chayav v'gam la'achar petirato ayin sham. That in all Jewish communities in Egypt, this became the prevailing minhag, even after the Rambam's petira. V'chein katav b'shut harashbash, shenira lei shetov linhok etakana hanal, lefi shanu roim shehi misaprim zeim ze b'chazarat hashatz, ve'inam atim ozen lishma chazarat hashatz, ve'ilu haya shliach tzibur mitpalel b'kol ram tefila echat, hayu matim ozen letfilato. The Rashbash says the same thing as the Rambam. Better that everyone should be davening together so that everyone will be paying attention. Ve'ilu haya maskim imo imi aduni avi harashbat zal ba'odu b'chayim chayuto hayiti manhikach ad kan. He says, I would actually implement this if my father would have agreed with me, but he's not prepared to implement it in practice. Ela shebitshuvat harambam achar shekatav shiroi lasot rak tefila echat im hashliach tzibur mehatam hanal hosif. Then he writes, and in an additional tshuva, the Rambam adds as follows: Omnam im efshar sheyesh asara mehem o kulam yakshivu l'tfilat hashliach tzibur ve'anu amin kera'ui, halo ze tov ma'od lahem yoter mima sheyomrim tefila b'kol ram ad kan. He writes, the Rambam writes in a separate tshuva, if you can get 10 people who are willing to answer amen and to be attentive, even if the rest of the kahal is shmoozing, then it is better to have a Chazaras HaShatz, so that you'll at least have the original takana in place. ובתשובת הרדב"ז חלק ד' הביא תשובת הרמב"ם הנ"ל בביטול חזרת השץ, והביא מה שכתב הרמב"ם בתשובה אחרת בלשון ערבי. And then in the Radvaz, he quotes another tshuva from the Rambam that was written in Arabic, which is, שבתפילת שחר ומוסף של שבס ויום טוב בלבד, יש להניג להתפלל עם השליח ציר בתפילה אחת, לסיבת רוב ההמון שבבית הכנסת. The only time the Rambam offered this dispensation in the Arabic tshuva was when Shabbos, Shacharis, and Musaf. That's it, because you have the most people in shul, where there's going to be this lack of decorum. Okay. לפי שאינם מקשיבים לתפילת השליח ציבור, ונמצא שהשליח ציבור מברך ברכות לבטלה. Like Alan was arguing, that it turns out that no one's listening to the shliach tzibur, so it's a bracha levatala. V'chein yesh linhag b'tfilas mincha k'shnitzacharu harbe samach laherav shemesh. The Rambam also writes you can be samech on this minhag of only having one Shmona Esrei when what? When it's right before Shkia and you're at a time to daven mincha. Amnam b'mei hachol k'shnitpalel b'ma'at imim mekubatzim nachzor l'takanat chazal litpalel b'lachash v'achar kach b'kol ram. But during the weekday, when you have the serious daveners, you have a small group that are focused on what they're doing, then you have to have the regular Chazaras HaShatz. V'katav haradvaz ki akol modim shemidin hatalmud b'hagaonim roi l'tzibur litpalel b'lachash v'achar kach b'kol ram v'chein noagim b'chol hamalchuyot zulat b'malchut mitzvah shenagu k'divrei HaRambam. And the Radbaz concludes that everywhere outside of Egypt have to maintain the original takana of a silent Shmona Esrei followed by Chazaras HaShatz. It's only in Egypt, where the Rambam was king, so to speak, that they can have that minhag, but nowhere else outside of Mitzrayim. Umikol makom lo tiken harambam kein elo lefi zman mipnei asiba shekatav v'zeh barur mitoch lishono shekatav shera'ui bizmanenu. And it's very clear that the Rambam only meant it for it to be a prevailing custom during his time and in his communities. Because he writes it's only for our time. He didn't mean it for it to be a perpetual minhag. V'imkein ein zu takana kivua leolam, ela hakol lefi hamakom v'hazman ulefi hanhagat hamitpalalim, and therefore everything goes according to what the standards of the community are. If the community is able to gather 10 people and to answer attentively Amen, during Chazaras HaShatz, they have no right to dispense with it. V'chein mitboyer mehatshuva ha'achron shebelashon haravi hanal ulam bizmanenu sheyesh talmudei Torah harbe b'Mitzrayim ma shelo haya mikodem l'chein. So Rabbi Ovadia just adds as follows. He says, now think about it for a second. We've advanced since the times of the Rambam. He's from Egypt himself, Rabbi Ovadia, right? He says, I remember growing up, we had chadorim, we had yeshivas, and people were very well educated. V'rubam kikulam b'nei Torah, v'kulam shomim u'makshivim l'chazarat hashatz v'onim amen k'ra'ui. He says most of the people in our shuls in Egypt are very attentive to the Chazaras HaShatz because we were raised as educated Jews to know that we're not supposed to be schmoozing and we're not supposed to be doing other stuff during Chazaras HaShatz. Af im yesh mikzat min hahamon shemedabrim b'sicha b'teila b'eit hachazara b'teilim heim b'miutam. And he says that even though there may be a small minority who do engage in schmoozing during Chazaras HaShatz, it's a very small minority that does not need to be reckoned with. Ve'ela sheinam b'kim b'tfila lo yilmedu mehem shehem muatim ela yilmedu me'ela shehem b'nei Torah shehem arabim. And people who really need to be yotzei with Chazaras HaShatz because they're not educated will see that the majority are being attentive and they'll learn from them and will not learn from the minority that are schmoozing. V'lachein ra'ui lihitpalel b'lachash ve'achar kach hachazara b'kol ram k'din ha'talmud. Avol bizmano shel harambam lo haya sham mi sheyishma hachazara v'yane amen she'ilu haya sham asar sheshamim v'onim amen lo haya kotev b'tshuvato she'eshlich tzibur mivarech brachot levatala. And it's clear that in the Rambam's time you couldn't even find a minion of people who were prepared to answer amen. And it's astounding. It's absolutely astounding. So you would think, who was the greatest rabbi of the medieval period? The Rambam. I take great comfort in this. If the Rambam couldn't get his shul to be quiet during Chazaras HaShatz, a shmendrik like me has hope, right? But obviously, it's a negative kind of encouragement that I receive. In other words, if he was having problems in his time, he couldn't even find the minyan in his shul to answer Amen during Chazaras HaShatz. What are we supposed to say about ourselves? But it's a sad state of affairs, right? In other words, in so many kihilot, the standard is to know the halacha, to be attentive during Chazarat HaShatz, and yet we've somehow regressed, have we not, in the way that our attitudes towards Chazaras HaShatz. Now, ve'en litmo velomar v'chiach shor dari. Now, you may ask a question. How's that even possible that our generation is more fit than the generation of the Rambam? You're telling me that we're better as a community than the generation of the Rambam? How can that possibly be? That's his question, right? He says, "Sheri bekama dvar mu minhagim huchshiru hadarot bismanei la'achar shebo marbitzei Torah be'eretz Mitzrayim v'rabu hatalmidim v'hatorah asta perot u'perei perot." He says, yes, you can say that, because the fact is that there was a lot of ignorance in Egypt in earlier generations because there simply weren't Jewish educators available to come to Egypt to educate the Jewish communities. But after there was a wave of Talmidei Chachamim who came to Egypt and they educated our communities, this education bore fruit to the point where today, Rav Ovadia says about Egypt, the Jewish communities are educated enough to fend for themselves. Now this must be a very early tshuva, because after the founding of the state, most Jews had already left Egypt. Now, v'hu adin lagabe tfilat hachazara, lefichach ein linho ka'et ketakanat harambam klal, and therefore it's not appropriate to do like the Rambam at all. Ki bizmanenu yesh harbe kilot shekulam mitpalalim belachash ve'achar kach bechazarat hashliach tzibur kedin Talmud. He says, because there's so many communities in Eretz Yisrael. He says, basically, therefore, the North African immigrants, this wave of immigrants that are coming probably in the 50s or whatever it is, that are coming from North Africa, he says, don't bring that minhag here. It might have been appropriate at a time and a place, in one time in history, but that should not be the standard of what we do here in Eretz Yisrael today. We're more educated, we're capable of having more decorum. And if you try to depart from the standard, then you're guilty of the Isser of lo titkodedu, which is do not create separatist practices. You have to have conformity and uniformity. I think he's still quoting the Radbaz. Now, v'chein haya minhag b'Mitzrayim atre da'Rambam od midorot shelafanenu u'chemo shekasav harav Hagon Rabbi Yom Tov Yisrael b'Sefer Minhagim Mitzrayim. Okay, skip to the next paragraph. We're almost done with the tshuva. We're now on page 4. Ve'af al pi sheyesh me'achroni dorenu shekatvu lihistamech al tshuvat haRambam levatel chazarat hashatz b'musav shel Shabbos v'Yom Tov. He says, now there are some poskim who felt that you could justify dispensing with Chazaras HaShatz in Musaf. Mipnei shahamon misaprim zein zeh ve'ena makshivim l'tfilat hachazara, because people are just simply schmoozing and not listening. Kasher herich bazeh b'shut ma'im chayim mashash, as Rav Mashash, Harav Shalom Mashash wanted to argue. I have one tshuva from him, but he says v'rei od b'shut pulat tzadik chelek gimel v'shut hashemayim achadashim v'shut kiryat Chana David Chelek Aleph, Ulam Nireh Shegam Heim Lo Dibru Ela B'Makomot Sheinam B'nei Torah. But he's only those poskim were only talking about where people are not learned. V'rov HaKahal Hayu Amei Haaretz Shemesochechim B'Sicha B'Teila B'Beit HaKnesset Beit Chazarat HaTfilah. He says where most people are schmoozing during Chazaras HaShatz. Neged Hadin V'Halacha Psuka B'Shulchan Aruch. And this clearly is against the halach of Shulchan Aruch. Shehasach b'chazarat HaShatz gadol avano minaso v'gorim bo. Shulchan Aruch says explicitly, he who speaks during Chazaras HaShatz is incurring a great sin, and we rebuke him. Milvad v'zot milvad ha'isur shel sicha b'teila b'beit hakneset shu isur chamor ma'od kimavur b'zohar hakadosh. And that's in addition to the fact that the Zohar is very reprimanding of a person who speaks gratuitously in a shul bichlal, not just during tefillah. Uv'shulchan aruch uv'achronim sham. Uviraot gedolei hador she'ein doram domei yafel limchot bidei ha'hamon, sarim atzru b'milim v'chaf yasimu lefihem, l'chein bik'a matzu v'gidru geder b'toch harad sha'a kedei limnoach chilol Hashem v'chadiv Rambam Zal. He says, listen, there were Gedolei Yisrael who saw what was going on. They felt they didn't have the strength, the power to be able to rehabilitate their communities. And so therefore they didn't say anything when there was only one Shmona Esrei and there was no Chazaras HaShatz. Avolo yeyasa kein b'mekomenu she'im b'nei Torah, u'bifrat bizmanenu she'hatorah chozeret al achsanya shala. But not today. Rabbi Ovadia says today the Torah is coming back. There's a renaissance of Torah study in Eretz Yisrael. The Eretz Yisrael kayom hi merkaz haTorah ba'olam. Today, Eretz Yisrael is the Torah center of the world. V'rabu shiurei Torah lemevugarim b'chol erev v'talmudei Torah v'yeshivot kedoshot. And this is a place where there are shiurim every night for adults. And there are Talmud Torahs in the yeshivas. Lefichach yesh linhog b'chol hakilot be'eretz Yisrael la'asot chazarat hashatz gam b'tfilat musaf shel Shabbos v'yom tov ketakonas chachameinu zal. And therefore there's no excuse. There's no excuse to curtail the Chazaras HaShatz simply because people are going to shmooze. And the Morei Hora'ah have to come down on people and tell them, listen, Chevra, you guys know, you went to yeshiva. You know the halacha. You're not supposed to be talking during Chazaras HaShatz. Let's take this seriously and let's make it mean something. Last paragraph. Let's skip to the last paragraph. He says, if there are some communities where there's still shmoozing going on during Chazaras HaShatz, yesh lahasbir lahem chomer ha'isr shebadavar. You have to explain to them the grave prohibition involved. Ad sheimnu mikach, until they stop. V'chemo shekatav b'shut zecher Yehosaf, sha'ad she'yit amtzu levatel Chazarat HaShatz yoter hayaroi lahuchiach et hashomiim, shelo yidabru kal b'Chazarat HaShatz. He says, the tshuva that he's quoting says, instead of accommodating the schmoozers in shul by not having a Chazaras HaShatz, better that you should educate the community not to speak during Chazaras HaShatz. ובפרט כשהוא מניין מצומצם, ובמשך הזמן יורגלו מעצמם להיזהר משיחה בתהילה, להקשיב לחזרת השץ. And over the course of time, especially when you have a small minyan, over the course of time, people will learn. And ומי שמתקומם נגד מנהגנו הנהוג ברוב ככל הקהילות של ארץ ישראל, וטוען שמכיוון שלא נהגו בעירו לעשות חזרת בתפילת מוסף, יש לנו כן בבתי הכנסת של עדתם, אינו אלא תורה. And the final word that Rabbi Ovadia says is that any Jew who comes and says, my minhag where I come from was we didn't have a Chazaras HaShatz at Musaf, and therefore I have a right to demand that we don't have one in our new kehillah that we start here, he's making a big mistake. שהרי בה זה איסר לא תתקודדו, לא תעשו אגודות אגודות, וכמו שכתוב בתשובת הרדב"ז הנ"ל, מאחר שמנהג רוב הקהילות בארץ ישראל לעשות חזרה כדין התלמוד, לכן אין לשנות ממנהגי ישראל בארץ ישראל. He says, you're making a mistake, you're violating the law of lo titkodedu. Do not be a separatist, do not create segregations within Klal Yisrael. Since the vast majority of kehilot do not have that minhag, you don't have a right to impose this. And therefore, finally, Ki mitzion teitzei Torah udvar Hashem Yerushalayim, v'lashon imim yin'am v'aleim tavo birchat tov. May anyone who hears these words, may it be pleasing to them, and may they receive a good blessing. Okay, a lot of this stuff we're not going to be able to continue with. I just want to see one last thing with you, and that is, if you don't mind, turn to page 5, where I want to show you where the origin of the minhag of yeshivas and kolalim to say a hecher kedusha for mincha. Now, the truth of the matter is, the source of this is brought down in Shulchan Aruch. It's in Hilchos Mincha, in Shulchan Aruch Siman Reish Lamed Beis. The Mechaber writes, Im hasha'a dechuka, if there's very little time, right, because at mincha there's sometimes people are very pressed for time, Yitpalalu belachash ve'achar kach yomar shliach tzibur magenu machaya v'yane kedusha u'misayim hakel hakadosh. Then you have the shortened Shmon Esrei. The shliach tzibur starts off out loud, then he says kedusha, then he says hakel hakadosh, Im ein shahut biyom ligmor yudchet brachot, and that's, you can stop there if there's no time to say the whole Shemona Esrei. And the Ramah just adds, v'yesh omrim sheyitpalel hashliach tzibor im hakahal b'kol ram, v'chein noagin v'ayin la'el simin kuf chaf daled sif beis. And the Ramah says that some say that the shliach tzibor should daven in unison together with the kahal. While we're saying it silently, he says it out loud, and then we say the Shtila Shemona Esrei to ourselves, and that obviates the need for the extra time of a Chazaras HaShatz. This is brought in Mincha. It's also brought, by the way, in Hilchos Shacharis as well. In Hilchos Tfilah Siman Kuf Chaf Dalid, that if it's a Shas HaDechak, that you're worried that you're going to lose Zman Tfilah, there are times when you can even justify this practice even at Shacharis. But the Mishnah Berurah is very careful to point out to us from all of the Achronim that if it's not a Shas HaDechak, you cannot do this, right? Because you have to always have a Shtil Shemona Esrei and then a Chazaras HaShatz. Fine. Take a look at this sefer, a contemporary sefer called Ma'adanei Asher from Harav Asher Tzvi Lunsar, and he writes as follows: Minhag chelek mahayeshivas lehispalel tamid mincha kitzara. Where does this minhag come from in certain yeshivas where they always daven a short mincha, hecher kedusha? By the way, this is not universal in all yeshivas, and a lot of the Hasidic yeshivas, they still do Chazaras HaShatz. A lot of the Nusach Sfard and Nusach Ari yeshivas, they're very makbid to do full Chazaras HaShatz. But in the Litvish yeshivas, is where they do this Hecher Kedusha. So you see where he says the Os Hey? He says, B'chelak mehayeshivot hakedoshot nahagu tamid lehitpalel mincha ktsara ulalo safek hadavar nitkan al yedei gedolei Yisrael pitzara chashay. He says, there's no question that if this is happening in the Heliger yeshivas, it was instituted by Gedolei Yisrael at some point in history for a certain need. Just like the Rambam did it for his time and his place. But we have to think about, why would they do this specifically in yeshivas? He says, you can't say it's because we're worried about wasting time from learning Torah. He says, is that going to be the sole reason why? That we can justify having a short mincha, because it's going to take away time from afternoon seder? He says, "Shekein gam misha torato umnuto ve'enu mitbatel b'lavachi asur levatel mishum kach tefila b'minyan b'kviyut k'muvur b'ramasim and sadi sif yud ches." Just because you're learning Torah doesn't absolve you from a proper davening. So you can't tell me, oh, it's taking away time from learning, and therefore I'm justified to have a shorter mincha. That can't be the argument. Okay? Va'odim kein havale lasud chazar k'tzar gam b'shachris. The gam b'shachris shaykh lasus chazar k'tzar k'muvur b'mishnah baruch chavdal sivkat and zal, sivkat and zayin. And if that's going to be your argument that it's bittul Torah, then do a hecher kedusha for shacharis also. V'shamati shahadav. Now he says, I heard as follows: Shahadavar hitchil miyamim shahaya bahem shiur shehitpalalu achar kach mincha kitzara. He says, I heard that it happened as follows. They would daven mincha immediately after the Rebbe's shir. That's how this mincha got started. And keven shachar hashir hayu adayin terudim binyane hashir, the chashashu shelo yimtzu asara sheyachavnu librachot hashatz, v'yihiyu birchotav levatala. Here was what the concern was. Guys were so immersed in the Torah of the shir that after Shtil Shemona Esrei, they were worried you weren't going to have 10 people answering Amen to Chazaras HaShatz, because people were so immersed in doing the follow-up research and conversations about the shir. That's how this minhag got started. He says, V'chein katav b'tama minhag b'sefer az nidberu chelak yud beis simin chaf gimel. He says, V'hinei lefi ma she biarti le'el kol hachshashu rakim mesichim zeim ze v'lo makshivim l'shatz. He says, this whole concern is if people are schmoozing and they're not listening to the shliach tzibur. V'itachen shezu haita hametziut achar hashir shemachmat ritcha deoraita hayu mamshichim lihitvateach gam bizman chazaras hashatz. He says, now it's altogether possible that in the earlier times, when they would have mincha right after the shiur, people were so immersed in chazering over the shiur and debating the finer points of the shiur, that people were so distracted that they couldn't even listen to the shliach tzibur. They were discussing and pointing and looking and this. Aval im shoskim umakshivim lashatz v'rak be'emtza mesichim daitem leslan ba. But if people are capable of holding cup, even in yeshiva, there's really no excuse to daven a short Shmona Esrei. He says, "V'lo mistaver sha'achzu ledina sha'asor tzrichim lechavim l'chol milah." He says, you can't tell me that the only time that we have a full Chazaras HaShatz is if you have a guaranteed 10 people listening to every single word. He says, "The imkain havalan levatel Chazaras HaShatz gam b'shacharis." Because if that were the case, then we should do away with Chazaras HaShatz in shacharis also. The gam levatel Chazaras HaShatz berubam kekulam shel batei knesios v'lo rak b'yeshivas. And then we should eliminate Chazaras HaShatz not only in yeshivas but also in shuls as well. I mean, if you're going to tell me that that's your concern, he says, and therefore we really have to consider whether the reason is still applicable today or not. He says, in listen, we really have to start thinking seriously about this minhag of a heicher kedusha in the yeshivas. He says, is the reason really applicable today still? Number one, we don't daven mincha right after the shiur. Usually what happens after the shiur, what happens in yeshivas?
Lunch.
You go to lunch, and then take your siesta, and then come back for mincha. Guys are not still arguing about the shiur. They may be thinking about heartburn from lunch in the yeshiva, right? But they're not thinking about the shiur, okay? Or supper. But he says, and if the reason no longer applies, just like they did away with the Rambam's takana, because it was an accommodation for the pandemonium that was going on in his time, but it was rectified. So if we've rectified the pandemonium that used to happen in yeshivas at mincha time, what right do we have to continue this minhag, which really doesn't have very strong basis? Over Beit Yosef, Siman Kuf Lamedala Kasav Dechachmei Hador Shelafanav Bitzvas Bitlu Es Aminag Shenosad Al Yidei HaRambam V'Gazru Nidvoi La'avor Al Takanatam. He says the Beit Yosef writes that the Chachmei Hador that came before him in Sfat decreed that one could not follow the Rambam's kula of not having Chazaras HaShatz. He says, so if that's the case, v'hachanami yesh laim b'takana dinan im tamei shayachim gam hakayom. So therefore, we really have to consider carefully: is there still justification to have a heicher kedusha kind of mincha, where half the people that are balabatim anyway, in a lot of kolim in a lot of places, can we really justify? I'll tell you personally, the only time that I can justify doing a heicher kedusha for mincha is when I'm at a chuppah. And there's absolute noise. There's no one listening to Chazaras HaShatz. It becomes a bizayon. And I feel that that's the only time you can really justify it, because it's very difficult to get 10 people to be listening to Chazaras HaShatz. And the chances are that you have less than 10 people that can even hear audibly the Chazaras HaShatz. That's when you should have a Heicher Kedusha. But in a yeshiva, what's the justification? I understand historically the precedent, but why continue that minhag? Questions, comments?
How does the Rambam Shita of davening quietly at the Baki would be the same time of Chazaras HaShatz? Can you really daven with kavanah if you're davening alongside and you probably your answer is better than I?
Perhaps, I don't know. Perhaps there was an argument to be made that it's hard to have kavanah, but the Rambam felt that this was the lesser of two evils, I suppose. Are you sorry you came to Shir tonight?
No, but if you ask the Kodelite, what would they answer?
Minhag of Hussein will be a danger.
I don't know. Why don't you ask? So you see what kind of answer you get. All I'm saying, I'm just reading from the text.
We do it at the kol.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
1 o'clock.
They probably do it in Lakewood also. I know they did it. They do it in
Mary
Marshall.
Oh,
Yeah.
based on the Shulchan Aruch and the Chazaras HaShatz, everyone has to pay attention and he's not on it. What's the justification for people having the forum open and learning during Chazaras HaShatz? You can't.
That was another
Right,
shiur.
right, we had a shir. We had a shir about learning during Chazaras HaShatz. Again, we talked about lesser of two evils, right?
Right.
We s- I- If you remember back then, I brought from one of the contemporary poskim who said that if a person mamish can't hold cup during Chazaras HaShatz, and his mind is going to wander to other places, and he's not going to be listening anyway,
But
then
that-
you're better
but
off-
that-
you're
but
better
then
off
that
having a
negates
sefer.
this, then, because
Why?
here you have to hold cup to answer, just in case you didn't have kavanah in your Shemona Esrei, so you listen to.
in Hachinami, it's in Hachinami, there's a lechatchila and there's a b'diavad. So I agree.
If you didn't have kavanah in your own Shemona Esrei, and you can't hold cup for the Shliach Tzibur, so where does that leave you then?
It leaves you that you shouldn't be talking. That's where it leaves you.
Okay.
Leaves you that's you don't resort to plan C, which is just to say, okay, what difference does it make? I'm going to schmooze. That's for sure not, right? But if you feel that maybe let me, like Rabbi Yovad just says, let me use Chazaras HaShatz to cover all the parts of my own Shtil Shemona Esrei that I wasn't Yotzei. That's Kedai. Remember, even the justification to learn still requires you to answer Amen at the end of every bracha.
Right.
You have to be able to.
You have to hear it.
Yeah.
So if you get into such immersive learning that you can't hear, there's no heter for that. It was the only argument that could have been made, the Magen Avraham made this argument, is that if you can still answer Amen while you're looking in a sefer, then some people say that there's justification for it. Okay? Have a good night.